Friends, my name is Jesse. Welcome back to Male Nurse Mentor. I got a good treat of a video for you guys today. I was gonna plan for a whole different video, but I decided this topic would be better. And it's talking about 3 reasons why I think people leave the nursing profession. And the purpose behind this video, friends, is because I always wanna be honest. I always wanna be transparent. Being in the nursing field isn't all sunshine and rainbows. It's not all just, go off into the happiest place on earth, have the best life ever. It's not the case. There's some cons with nursing, and unfortunately there's a lot of nurses who leave the profession entirely and don't come back. And I think if they would have just looked at things differently, try to combat these 3 reasons I'm going to tell you, they would maybe still be a nurse today. So today's video is just telling you guys 3 reasons why I think people leave. Maybe in the future I'll make a video as to how to kind of combat this, but I'll also add snippets in this video here today. So I hope you guys can enjoy this one. Let's begin. So this first reason, friends, the very first reason, first and foremost, this is burnout. Burnout. I know you've heard about it. Maybe some of you have felt it, whether it's in school, as a nursing student. I'm sure in your career, if you haven't felt it yet, you definitely will. Because the reality is, friends, nursing, it's a really demanding job. It's a really demanding career. You have to be there for people emotionally, physically, and it takes that emotional and physical toll on yourself, on your health, your personal life, your life at work. It just takes a toll. Right? Because let's break it down. Let's say you're a nurse in a hospital, 12-hour shifts, you're on your feet all day, especially during day shift. And night shift can also be hard on work-life balance, right? And to be honest, 12-hour shifts are great. You work 3 in a week, but they also take a toll, right? You're not home very often, especially if you work them 3 consecutively. You don't have much life outside of going to work, eating, sleeping, going to work, eating, sleeping, and just repeat it for 3 days in a row on end. And then after you're done with your 3 days, you take like a whole day or 2 days just to recover. And then you kind of go back and do it again, right? You can attribute this to the rat race, whatever. But the point is, that's just one example. The other example, just in general, of being a nurse is you care for sick people, right? You're part of the healthcare system in a very big role, I'd say. You're oftentimes the gel. You spend the most time with the patient, right? Doctors aren't there all day with these patients. You are. So you're just always there in that role, just participating in the patient's care plan. And if you see them needing emotional support, you have to be there for them. And physical toll on your body, it does take as well because, right, you're lifting patients, you're on your feet all day. Oftentimes you're gonna hear people with like carpal tunnel, bad joints, bad backs. It does take a toll. So all this kind of builds up the perfect environment for burnout. And then also, post-pandemic, what used to be distributed over 8 nurses is now distributed over 6 because there's staffing shortages everywhere. So everything can set up this perfect environment for burnout. Before you know it, you're like, man, I just can't recover from this, I can't rest, and you burn out and you leave, right? You're like, I think it's just the nursing profession, and you leave the profession entirely for something else. I'm done with nursing. I can't do it anymore. I've had enough, right? Maybe some of you guys have felt this way in a certain capacity. Maybe some of you guys have felt this way fully and you've left. As a nursing student going into the profession, be careful of it because it can happen and it will happen at some point in your career. For me, I entered the nursing workforce 1 year before the pandemic, and then the pandemic and post-pandemic is all I've known. I've worked in a correctional setting, which I think has at least helped me because I find some interest in working in that environment. If I had worked in a hospital, I probably would have felt the same level of burnout, but times who knows how much, because I also wouldn't want to work there. So the whole point to this first one is I think people leave because of burnout, and it will happen, friends. It's just a matter of how you can recover and how you can make it through. But burnout's very real. Once it happens, it's really hard to overcome, and it could push people out of the profession entirely. And I think that's one of the reasons why people do ultimately leave. And for the reason number 2 that I thought of is not treating their career like a journey, right? And what I mean by this is just looking at the today and now. This leads to a sense of helplessness. If you're a floor nurse and you don't like being a floor nurse and you don't look at anything beyond that, you may think you have no other options. Like, this is all I have, this is what I am, this is a job I'm doing and I don't like it, and they may ultimately leave the nursing profession. So I think not looking at your career like a journey, like not having anything to look forward to, like the next step of your career, is kind of what pushes people out of nursing as well. But one thing you have to do, when possible, early on if you can in your career, is expand, is look at where you are today and look at where you can get in a few years after, getting a certain degree, a certain certificate. You can expand this career and treat it like a journey, right? Give yourself something, hopeful to look forward to. Have that lens of optimism in terms of, I'm here today, but maybe in a few years I'll be in this position, and if I go back to school, I can get this and then become this, right? That's kind of how you navigate this. But I think one of the reasons why people leave nursing profession is because they don't look at their careers like this, and I can understand it. I was feeling this before I went back to school to get my master's degree, and it's also one of the things that prompted me to go and get it. Because as a floor nurse, I liked it for a little bit, but then I realized I didn't like it anymore, right? For me, being a floor nurse was working as a floor nurse in a prison, working in outpatient, the acute ER, working as a pandemic, COVID RN, public health, a lot more hands-on clinical bedside. For me, I started to not like it anymore. So I started feeling helpless. I was like, well, I don't like this. Maybe I just don't like nursing, right? So it starts to kind of push you out the door, right? You start to push yourself out of the career. But at some point, something just clicked. And I'm like, well, maybe if I go back to school, I could find something else. And I started looking in my own job environment, and I saw that they have nurse consultants, right? They have supervisor roles. I tried the supervisor role. I didn't really like it. So I was like, let me try this nurse consultant path. Either way, it resulted in me going back to school to get my master's degree. One thing to keep in mind if you go back to school is, do you want to continue down the clinical route, become an MP? That's one path. If you want to be more on the administrative side, on the desk side, paperwork side, go administrative, right? Get your MSN in like nurse leadership and administration, which is what I did. That will ultimately help me one day get away from bedside in a different capacity, right? The capacity that I want to get away into, right? Eventually become that nurse consultant. Look at programs instead of just patients and things like that. That is the route that I'm taking. It'll help me take away that helpless feeling of just being stuck bedside, when I don't want to be bedside anymore. So all this to say, friends, treat your career like a journey. I think when people don't do this, it ultimately leads to a sense of helplessness. They just frazzle themselves and they lose hope, right? They're just like, I'm stuck, I don't like this, this is what nursing is, I gotta leave. And then they leave. And that's for this third reason, I label it listening to others. And I'll explain. So for me, friends, if I had listened to other people, right, as a nursing student, I would have gone and worked in a hospital. I would have gone and worked med-surg. I probably would have hated my life in that setting. And then the pandemic would have hit. And man, that only would have exacerbated this hating of my life, right? Hating the job that I'm working and my career and feeling stuck and helpless and burning out if I would have listened to other people. But I didn't listen to other people. So I'm here today, still a nurse, created Male Nurse Mentor here, and I found an alternative path for myself, right? One that I thought was more honest, more authentic, more true to myself. And I've been paving my own path since. That's the main message of this channel, is letting you know there's other ways to work as a nurse, be a nurse, not just the one box that's supposed to fit everybody. No. So be careful who you listen to. If you're trying to fit in this box, right, and you realize you don't fit, you've been listening to other people the whole time and you're like, man, I just don't fit in this mold. It just doesn't serve me. It could lead to helplessness again, discouragement. You may ultimately realize, I don't have what it takes to be a nurse, right? Everyone's telling me to do this and be here, and it's just not me. So maybe I'm just not cut out to be a nurse. And that's wrong. That's wrong. I will tell you, because if I would have fit in that mold, if I was to fit in that box of being a med-surg nurse, work in a hospital, that wouldn't be me. I wouldn't be a nurse either. But the fact is, there's more out there. So be careful when you get this advice and listening to people telling you this. Just be careful, because it might discourage you from being a nurse. You may leave the nursing profession entirely. But understand, friends, that sometimes you gotta listen to yourself. Whatever it is that you wanna get into, it's possible. Even as a new grad, it's possible. Pursue it, pave your own path. There's no one fit mold of a nurse. And that's one thing I had to learn over time. So just be careful. That's the reason number 3 that I put up here, is be careful when you have to listen to other people and their advice. They have their advice, I have my advice, but understand that the advice that I told myself is the one I continue to practice throughout my nursing career, and it's been paying off for me. I realized that what people were telling me actually wasn't true. And I'm glad I didn't listen, because if I would have listened, I wouldn't have liked it, and I don't know if I would have been a nurse still today. So So just keep that in mind. So those are 3 reasons why I think people ultimately leave the nursing profession entirely. Let me know if you agree or disagree, if there are some other ones that I may have forgotten, or some ones that you think are relevant as well. Leave a comment down below. And also friends, just as a reminder, you can find me in the DMs on Instagram. Send me any questions you may have regarding, school, career paths, pivoting and adjusting, specialties, whatever it is. Find me in the DMs, leave a comment down below. I'm just here to help. All I want for this channel, friends, is just to be a source, be the person that I would have found helpful when I was going through my nursing journey and felt alone, felt isolated, and I enjoy it. I enjoy making these videos. I enjoy showing up every week. And as always, friends, see you guys around every Monday. See you then.